The Indian democracy seems to be under attack. The Election Commission is facing allegations of voter fraud by the Election Commission themselves. And these are allegations coming from Rahul Gandhi and the entire opposition. They accuse the Election Commission of working on behalf of the BJP to steal elections and manipulate voter rolls to allow the BJP to win. At the same time, Bihar goes to vote. 8 crore people will be voting in Bihar by the end of the year. And there's a storm brewing right now over their electoral rolls as well. In this video, I'm going to tell you what the accusations are, what the denials have been, what the politics of it is, and what the implication, most importantly, is on you and me and our democracy. So remember, like, share, subscribe, and if you can and you're willing, please sign up for our membership as well. Now, let me go chronologically, right? This is what happened first. The Election Commission ordered an SIR, or a special intensive revision for Bihar's voter rolls, to happen in June, on the 24th of June this year. This is the first such revision that's happening in 22 years. Now, what happens in an SIR? What is an SIR? A quick sidebar. It's a special revision where election officers, booth officers, and 4 lakh volunteers have gone door to door to verify the actual documents and each and every single voter, booth by booth. Now, the idea is to remove people who've passed away, people who've moved to other cities, to remove any duplicate entries, and of course to list out anyone eligible who's just turned 18. Now, what is this in the news for? The Election Commission announced the SIR very close to the election, which apparently seems to be hugely controversial because there are floods happening in Bihar, and when floods happen, people tend to either they lose their documents in the flooding, or they are moved to other areas to avoid the water and they don't have access to their documents. And so it seems like there's a big question among opposition as to why this is happening now. The opposition is also basically saying that it's an attempt to delete voters who would have otherwise voted against the NDA, and they've challenged this in the Supreme Court. So there are exclusion fears for minority voters. There is apparently the burden on the youth is that anyone born after 1987 is being asked not just to give their own birth details but their parents' birth certificates as well. Aadhaar and Manrega cards are not being accepted as proof, and basically the fact that this has not happened since 2003, and so voters who have not been listed since 2003 have been asked for fresh documents. Now, this is happening on one side. On the other side, on the 7th of August, Rahul Gandhi held a press conference. Now, in his press conference, he claimed that he has irrefutable criminal evidence of voter manipulation. Now, what is the evidence he displayed? He said in Mahadevapura in Bangalore, where the BJP has a stronghold, 1,250,000 fake entries actually voted. Of that, he said there were about 11,000 duplicate votes, 40,000 invalid addresses, 10,000 bulk votes, 4,000 invalid photos, and 33,000 fraudulent new voters, he said. Now, he called this a crime against the Constitution and said, our democracy doesn't exist anymore. He said basically BJP needed 25 seats in order to get a majority in the Lok Sabha, which he claims the BJP has stolen. He says the internal surveys of the Congress has said that they should have won 16 seats in Karnataka, but they lost 7 of those seats quite narrowly. Effectively, he's saying that wherever there was a swing seat that could have gone either way, at the last minute there was a lot of cheating and it went the BJP's way. This is Rahul Gandhi's accusation. Now, after he had that press conference, there was a counter-attack that came from the BJP, from Anurag Thakur, who called this the Congress's hypocrisy, because he said, and I want you to pay close attention here, he said that there was voter roll fraud in seats that were won by the opposition. So Raebareli, which Rahul Gandhi won, Wayanad, which Priyanka Gandhi won, Diamond Harbour, Abhishek Banerjee, and Kannauj, which was Akhilesh Yadav, he said that if they insist on vote chori, then Rahul Gandhi and his allies should also resign from their seats which they have won through the same process. And this I'm quoting out of the Hindu on the 13th of August, according to Anurag Thakur, who made this accusation. I want to pause here for a second. Another sidebar. Here we have the leading opposition and our main ruling party both accusing each other of large-scale voter fraud. Where does that leave the credibility of the Election Commission if nobody seems to have any confidence in the electoral process? Now, I want to come back here. Chronologically, we're moving to the revision being done in Bihar. it showed 65 lakh voters were struck off for various reasons. Opposition leaders Tejasvi Yadav and Dipankar Bhattacharya went to Supreme Court on the 14th of August, and they asked that the ECB publish and make public the details of why these 65 lakh voters were struck off the list, and do so in a searchable format. Again, the reason why they did this was because after the Rahul Gandhi press conference, apparently the EC took down a lot of its scannable, searchable pages. So PDF details it had, where you could do a Control F and look for something. And they put up instead scanned pages where you can't search. So someone has to actually physically pour over it. But I must point out that if you are a voter and you need to find out whether only your vote is possible or registered, you can go to the Election Commission website and search based on your EPIC number, which is your voter ID number. It's only for members of the opposition, or basically someone doing analysis of voter rolls, who wants to download and look through large, streams and sheets of it. That's not possible because it's not searchable. Now, the Supreme Court decided on behalf of the decided in favor, of the opposition, and said yes, the list must be made public, reason for deletion must be made public, not just on the websites but also physically in all the panchayat bhavans, the block offices as well. EC complied. Within 56 hours of that directive, the Election Commission uploaded that whole list. And the CEC, Gyanesh Kumar, basically said that there is a September 1 deadline for anyone who feels that they've been wrongly struck off the list. They need to tell us by the 1st of September and not after that. Now, what was learned from these numbers? That 65 lakh entries had actually been deleted, of which 22 lakh were marked as deceased, 36 lakh were marked as shifted or moved or untraceable, and 7 lakh were marked as duplicate registers. Again, why were there so many problematic entries in Bihar's rolls is another question to ask. Of course, public scrutiny came up. The opposition started to have problems with this as well, as to why there were so many issues, and why suddenly 22 lakh people seem to have died off the rolls in Bihar. And to respond to that, the Chief Election Commissioner Gyanesh Kumar held a press conference along with his colleagues Sukhbir Singh Sandhu and Vivek Joshi. These are our election commissioners. There are 3 of them. They held a massive press conference on a Sunday, which I must admit as a journalist is odd for a government office. At the same time, Rahul Gandhi had started a vote adhikar yatra in Bihar while this press conference was on. Now, these are the key things that came out of that press conference. 1, the Election Commission asked that Rahul Gandhi file under oath in 7 days his affidavit providing proof of what he has accused, or he needs to apologize before the country. No affidavit means these allegations are baseless. So effectively, the burden of proof, when someone has said, hey, there is a problem, somebody is robbing something or there is theft here, instead of starting an investigation, the burden of proof has been placed on Rahul Gandhi. But I also want to point out here that burden of proof has not been placed on anybody from the BJP who also exchanged similar allegations at that point. On the second point, the fact that there were lakhs of people given house number 0, the Election Commission has said that homeless citizens who don't have houses but can still vote are assigned house number 0. On duplication and double voting, they basically said that it's possible for someone to be registered in 2 places, but it's not the same thing as voting in 2 places, because voting in 2 places is against the law, it's criminal, and we have a law for it. Now, about the 22 lakh deaths, it's said basically that these are unreported deaths for the last 20 years. It's also said that there were errors that arose pre-2003, and the Election Commission has fixed 3 lakh errors. So now we have to ask ourselves, 22 lakh people deceased over 20 years and 3 lakh errors have only been fixed now. So what does that say about the elections that have happened in Bihar up until now? Were there a large number of fraudulent entries? Now, on the machine readable rolls and the CCTV visuals that the opposition asked for, the Election Commission has made an interesting argument of privacy and said basically, because of privacy issues, we can't make this public. It said, and I'm quoting here, Mr. Kumar, who's our election commissioner, has said, should the election commission share CCTV videos of voters, including mothers and sisters, effectively suggesting that mothers and sisters specifically will not want their visual of voting to be seen by anybody, which is a public activity. So basically they made that privacy argument against releasing CCTV and giving you searchable roles, saying if you as an individual want to see, you can go and see your details, but we don't want to make everybody's details available, because given AI and manipulation, we could have a lot of issues. A couple of things, the memorable quotes the EC did say in that press conference. One, the Election Commission stands like a rock with all voters, and so nobody can question them. Secondly, and I'm quoting here, the sun still rises in the east, repeating a lie won't make it the truth. So there was some Sholay film type dialoguing happening there, but we want to focus really on the matter at hand. The opposition pushed back immediately. We understand that they have decided now to start an impeachment motion against the Chief Election Commissioner, which is difficult constitutionally because it requires a two-thirds majority, which the opposition doesn't have, but it's meant to be a symbolic protest, and that they're going to do in Parliament. Now, this is everything that's happened so far. After that, a couple of things I do want to point out though is that the chief, according to clause 19, the Chief Election Commissioner and other election commissioners have immunity from any legal action for decisions taken while in office. So you can't actually bring any sort of legal action against them. Also, as of this morning, the Kerala Congress has posted on Twitter what looks like an electoral roll of villages outside of Jaipur, where everybody's houses have been marked 99999999. So they're saying that, okay, you've explained what house number 0 is, what is house number 99999, and why are you doing that? So these are two updates that have happened since then. But I want to take a minute here to sort of analyze the situation that we are in. Dead voters, duplicate entries, fake addresses, errors are systemic right now. What does that mean for our democracy? What does that mean for our electoral process? Because at the end of the day, in a democracy, remember, the country belongs to each and every citizen, but it only does so because we have the power to vote our governments in and out of office. If we are not really voting them in and out of office, and if there is large-scale fraud, our democracy is weakened beyond recognition. Secondly, if all parties have had copies of polls up until now, why is the opposition raising this question now before the Bihar elections? And this has been asked in the past. The opposition has won in Kerala. It has won in Karnataka. It has won in Telangana. So how come you didn't have issues over there? And if the BJP was, in fact, according to you, colluding with the Election Commission, how come they've not colluded over all of the elections and only over select ones? So these are massive questions that do come up. West Bengal, for example, Tamil Nadu, for example. If there was a possibility to manipulate, why wasn't manipulation happening in all of these states? Fundamentally, though, the interesting thing is there is a study that's come out by CSDS. It's been written up in the Hindu newspaper, which says that in Uttar Pradesh, 30% of the people, and in Delhi, a little more than that, do not trust the Election Commission anymore. In Uttar Pradesh, apparently that number has jumped from 16% to 31% in just 1 year. So effectively, there is an erosion of faith in the electoral process with the Election Commission. The Supreme Court, of course, will have the final word on that revision, on whether or not it will go, and we'll be keeping an eye on that hearing in the Supreme Court, and we'll tell you what happens there. But I want you to tell me if you believe the Election Commission is honest. Remember the days of T.N. Seshan, where he was so tough on everybody that people would write, sing praises and write stories about that tough man, who never let anybody through, and he really held his ground. From there till today, do you believe that the Election Commission is deciding really and standing really in favor of the voters and in democracy, or is it working for someone else? How much faith do you have in our Election Commission? Tell me in the comments.